for the 19th? We
Yeah.
were, okay, good. I was thinking I emailed it, but Larry said he didn't get it, so I was unsure.
It was,
So you did, all right, maybe I missed it.
it was on the same email as the minutes.
Maybe I, yeah, but to it, maybe I didn't see the second attachment.
Well, my memory sure doesn't help.
Alrighty, so I should probably call the meeting to order. And we'll go through the roll call. Scott Badger called me. His daughter is receiving a scholarship this evening, and he thought it would be appropriate for him to attend.
That's great.
I agree.
Right.
You got it? I can't.
Yeah,
My
looking
arm.
towards you.
Okay, I've been doing it, because I'm here to now I'm supposed to.
No, I didn't get the minutes from the last meeting, I did get this.
Okay. You didn't get the minutes for last time. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, so I don't know if I'm on your list or something, because I was just trying to catch up, so.
Yeah.
So you would like the minutes of May 8th
Yes, please.
coming up?
I was just saying, for future,
Yeah, I'll double check that you're on the list, but
because I've gotten them in the past.
yeah, I can't imagine why they're off.
It was posted, what, May?
Well, there should have been one posted
Okay,
around
you can work.
May 10th or 12th or something or other, and another one posted around May.
You guys don't play poker, obviously,
Third,
because you
fourth.
don't just move the cards.
Later, there was a second meeting,
Yes, that was the second one.
but I didn't know. Maybe I might delete it, I don't know. I'm sure I'm on your list.
And we even have work session.
Thank you.
So shall we have the attendance?
All right.
You've done it?
Dick Bennett, okay. Dave Treadwell?
Yep.
Darren Levitt?
Here.
Kathleen Doherty? Here. Larry Siebert?
Here.
B. Davis?
Yeah.
Sarah Kimball?
Here,
Betsy Harding, yes. And I finished video taping.
So, let's see, who's the alternate of least repute? Anybody know? Who's first alternate?
What?
Well, there's 8 of us here, so we have to find out the 7 that are voting. So,
oh, I don't care.
It doesn't matter, whatever. Do we need my email?
Oh, wait a minute, we could go back to who was the voting member the last time this came up? Anybody remember? It must be Kathy, you're voting tonight.
Okay.
Yes, B was the voting member on March 20th.
That says I remembered it. And so now we'll go through the
You're efficient.
minutes of our previous meetings.
I just have a question on the minutes. When Bob did his interview with us, he turned off the camera and should that be in the minutes?
I didn't hear him
I
ask it.
mean, I thought he
He
said
asked,
it
he requested it, I believe.
to be in the minutes,
No, he requested.
to turn off the
it
camera and so it would be private.
Right.
Well, it's in the minutes, that's what I'm wondering. Should it be?
I didn't hear him ask that it not be in the minutes.
Well, he asked for the camera to be off.
Well,
and he's-
the contents of what is not in the minutes. It just simply says that he,
The procedure of getting to it,
I guess
just
maybe-
giving the data. It's not saying what the discussion was.
I guess maybe one of the things was the anonymity of people. I know that was important to him.
Yeah.
I think
So I think I was careful
Yeah,
to
I was
not.
just asking the question, I'm not sure, I thought he felt that he needed to keep that entirely anonymous, and that's why he turned the camera off.
Well,
He-
that's why. I didn't put
right,
any-
the discussion was anonymous.
Right.
Oh, I
That's why I
got this.
didn't put any names in.
Our
Okay.
answers to the questions were anonymous.
Okay, so that's why the camera's off, and,
Right.
but you couldn't write what the questions were and kind of what was answered.
If he asked not to, I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah,
So-
oh, yeah, I'm
Well,
just
yeah,
asking, I wasn't sure, I wasn't sure.
I believe that's because I did talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Want the questions listed here?
The questions.
Because
were
I,
listed, but
I'm
not
just, and the other reason I'm
Yeah.
asking is because on the Conservation Commission, I said to them, well, keep this out of the minutes, and should I have done that?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, I just didn't know. Okay.
Well,
I know
was
he
here
didn't, he
at the
hadn't
meeting.
contacted me after.
The answers were all anonymous. There was no record of them except whatever his record is. I mean, he taped it,
Yeah.
so,
And I guess the only difference would be this, I wasn't there, but it wasn't planning board business, it was just a group, correct?
right.
Yeah, so that's the other part of it.
Still during the meeting. I mean, we hadn't adjourned.
Do you want to ask him before you print it on e-news?
Oh, it's already been out in e-news for 2 weeks.
It's already,
Oh,
Or
that's
3
right.
weeks.
All right. You,
A month.
you print minutes that have not been approved.
Right.
That's
Right.
correct.
Right.
We always
that's
have-
why they
yeah,
would
we
put
always have.
unofficial until approved.
It's
Do you-
a,
do
it's
you
a state
then-
law.
Then a question on that, then say we amend a lot, do you then print them?
What we've voted in the past to do
Yeah.
was to not redo the minutes. They wanted them to stay as they were actually written, but that each month to say whether they were approved or revised, and so we've always done that. It's state law that the minutes be out within 5 days.
Right, I'm aware of that.
And then if you wanted to go back at this meeting, whatever changes, that should be recorded to the last minutes. If that,
Right, but it got out to the public unchanged. That's what I'm saying, that's all.
as unofficial until approved.
Right.
We approve them at this meeting.
I'm aware of that, but what doesn't make a little bit of sense to me is that, okay, the public read the unapproved minutes, and they don't get a chance to read the approved minutes. So if we made amendments, would they see them?
If they read these tonight's minutes, if we change something, they'll be in the minutes tonight.
Right, but will
So
it
they'll
be
be in the
printed
next
in
one.
e-news is what I'm asking,
Yes.
for the public?
The minutes of
amendments.
each meeting. The
Yeah.
the minutes of each meeting and the changes requested for the prior minutes will be published in the next.
It just
few days.
lags.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It just lags. If there's a change to these minutes, it'll be posted in
In
5
the
days
next
for that last period.
Right, okay. That's all.
Well, okay, that's
Yeah, just
fine.
asking the que- yeah.
I think that solves keeping the public informed in a timely manner, which we're required to do,
Yeah.
and then in a corrected manner, which is good for them to know. Usually have some. Okay, are there any corrections to the May 8th meeting minutes? Everybody good, Lou?
Yeah.
May I have a motion?
I move we accept them.
Will I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, should we work over the work session minutes?
I move they be accepted as written.
I'll second.
Moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes of the work session were approved. We will now go to a public comment period where I think Seth Bernal would like to make public comment.
Good evening. Those of you who don't know-
Please sit right down
All right.
there with us.
Awesome. My name is Seth Burnell. I'm a surveyor with HEB Engineers, and we were recently hired by the Kendall family to look at their land up on Black Mountain Road and Valley Cross Road. They'd like to do a lot reconfiguration of 5 different lots there. The primary goal of the project is they have, well, let me pass around the sketch here, just what the properties are. I have a few of them, if you need to see any more. I'm sure most of you are familiar with ski touring trails that are on the 2 larger lots. Sure. So there are
So it's there
5 lots involved. That's Valley Cross,
very much.
and this abuts the Eagle Mountain House Golf Course area.
Where?
That's all down in here is the golf course.
Okay. And here's the Wildcat.
This is the crossroad connector.
Yes.
Yes, so this is heading up
Yeah,
towards
no,
Black
I-
Mountain, and
I know.
the Eagle's right there and all that.
What is it now?
This is what it is.
Is it one? Oh, this is what it is now?
That's what it is now.
Oh,
This
I'm
is just a
sorry.
picture of what's
Okay.
there now. So there's 5 lots, two large ones that I think those are in the 40-acre range. And then there are 2 small house lots on on Black Mountain Road that are about 1 acre apiece. And then there's a small, what used to be house lot that was owned by the Chase family on Valley Cross Road there. That's somewhat less than 1
Yeah.
acre, and
They tore it
they
down.
tore the house down, so there's no longer a house there. My understanding is that all all three of those smaller lots, the goal would be to increase their size. And the other goal of the project is to reconfigure the other two larger lots such that the ski trails are all on one lot.
Are all these 5 lots owned by the Kendalls?
They are,
I see.
yes, they are all owned by them. So the only lot V218, the southern larger lot there,
Yeah.
that has an existing barn and house on it as well.
Is that bad in this?
Right,
Okay.
those two,
So there's the barn.
the barn and the house.
There's
Is
the
it Pittman's
house.
barn? Is that-
Yeah.
Oh, is that on there?
Yeah, that's the Pittman lot.
Oh, okay.
And there's a spot where I fell on my head.
Oh, I see, the house is here, that's right.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
house and that's the barn, and then, this whole thing's the nice view looking out the eagle. Oh, I think that was some barbed wire fence remnants. This is sort of leftover from the plan we produced for the touring center when they did the Wave Trail Improvement Project in 2007. And they built, they had expanded 2 loops.
Yeah, see, that's Emerson's Godfrey's house. So Emerson's isn't in this
The red house and the
then.
green. Emerson's.
So are they gonna
Is that-
try
They
to,
want to put all the ski trails on one lot?
Yes, so essentially, and I think that things are still up in the air a little bit once they're deciding what they're doing, but basically, there would become a minimum 50-foot buffer around all the ski trails that would all end up in one lot.
are they gonna attempt to get 200-foot frontage on the 3 small lots, or?
They would be expanded, so
Yeah,
I would
So
assume.
assume, because
Yeah.
that's what you need to build in Jackson.
Right. I don't know if that's a guarantee that there would be 200 feet
Right.
minimum, but it certainly wouldn't be decreasing, and it would
Well,
probably
this
be.
one
What
they
do they do now?
would need to in order to build, these have building zones.
The
Okay.
Chase lot
Mhm.
would have to become a conforming lot
Right.
if they ever chose to build.
If they
it.
chose to build on it. Okay.
So as you configure.
So once
things,
the house is torn down, that grandfathered status is sort of gone, and
Yeah.
and you may not get a building permit ever again.
Right.
Unless you.
Unless you rebuild within
Unless
6
you
years.
had
Okay.
the area, or the road frontage and the area for the lot
Right.
that you would need for the current.
And I believe, that Chase lot would be, it may be expanding to take in all of this land, up against the trails. It may be stopping in
So
here,
lot of
because
swamp.
there's a pond and a lot of swamp there, so that may stay with the trails.
Well, the beavers have increased the wetland. So
But you're saying the issue still is just the frontage.
Right, but it would, so we would, we could certainly increase that to 200 feet, no problem. I think
Do you know what the
it
frontage
may be
is?
expanding to take
Yeah,
in
we
this
need
whole
ridge.
area.
Well, those are
Where are they
existing houses,
established?
so
Yeah, I
there's.
know, but do you know what the frontage is? You don't have a
200
scale, but
foot,
you do
yeah,
have
right
a
here.
scale.
Yeah, so, no. They're not.
You know,
Yes, no,
I
it's-
would
they're under
say
200.
yeah.
Oh, that's-
They're basically, they're an
That's
acre
200.
apiece, so they're 220, 225, I think.
Oh, no, it's an inch. Okay.
So that might be 200.
So one way.
Yeah, they're close to 200.
We're in
But they're existing anyway.
Yeah,
pretty close.
well, they're a little less than 200, like
Yeah.
191, 177, I don't know if that's,
Okay.
I don't know if those tax maps are actually,
But you're saying
Correct.
the plan would be to expand each of those, and so the width might be expanded as well.
yes, I believe so. I think the southern lot, the Godfrey one,
Yeah.
would most certainly be probably expanding to
Downhill.
close to become closer to the trails, so the
Yeah.
frontage would expand. And then
Down
that Johnson lot, I'm not sure, it's possible we may even leave it right out of the whole subdivision and leave it where it
Leave it
is.
as
What
is.
about the barn?
That goes in the other one. The barns would be.
The barn's
Old
here,
Pittman.
the barn and the house are there.
Would they become a lot as well?
They would, I think, they would probably still be on this lot,
I thought-
which would shrink or, become a lot that's well over 5 acres still. So there are 5 lots now, and there probably would be 5 lots afterwards as well. Four of them would have building sites, which we may have to address the Chase lot, I guess,
Yeah.
to prove that would be still viable. And then the 5th lot would have trails on it. The other thing that was part of the discussion was potentially trying to find an additional building site off of Cameron Drive, up in the
Okay,
corner,
yeah.
right here,
Yeah.
because there's technically frontage there.
Yeah, but it's the road.
That-
The
that's-
road stops, and that's a
that's
parcel,
funny, though.
it's a parcel that was part of condo common land, and the whole thing got turned over to the town.
Yeah.
So we would have to address that feasibility, and I'm not sure, there also is a stream there, and we haven't looked at how good the soils appear to look yet, so that may or may not be feasible. That's something we would,
And where
address.
that house is off of Wilson Road, that is part of the,
You're talking about the houses here up Wilson
Eagle.
Road?
yeah,
But
that's,
he's talking about over down.
yeah, well, what I'm trying to explain,
Yeah.
Wilson Road, all right, Kendall's, and there's a house in there that comes off of
there's
Wilson.
It's
one,
here.
yeah,
It's
right
it's on one of those 2
Well,
lots there. yeah.
That goes, you gotta read that Cameron Drive thing, because they get frontage off of way down there, it's written
Right, it's part of the Cameron Drive
Right.
complex of
It's
different-
a-
Eagle Mountain.
there. It's funny,
Eagle
you know what I'm saying? They
So
get
is it in
their
like the
frontage
condo,
way
the
down
covenants
there.
of the condo association? It's
Yeah,
all
it-
in the declaration?
Yeah, it's in that.
We'll look into that.
I mean, I'm just,
Yeah.
check it out.
No, it's not, it's the.
The association.
It's an association,
Oh, Cameron Road.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they own lots, but there's also common land that goes with it, so there's a whole.
Because,
So do you have any questions for us, or?
Well, the main questions I'm trying to figure out is, so we have a few different cases here. We have some existing house lots that would be expanding in size. We have a Chase lot that is an
Which
existing
means-
lot of record but does not have a house, that would also be expanding in size. We also have the Pittman lot with the barn and the house that would be decreasing, but still to a size well over 5 acres. We'd be trying to keep this out of state subdivision, and I think, it may end up taking most of the land here and going up against the trails.
So it doesn't look like you need to build any roads so far.
No roads need to be built. As I said, the only potential new building site is something off of Cameron Drive, if that's even feasible. So I guess the main things I'm wondering is, in which cases do we need to provide topography, soils mapping, lot density calculations? It's mostly a lot line adjustment. Again, it also may be a subdivision of lot number 13, the northernmost one, if we do end up trying to carve an additional building site out of that.
Well, what would rule on that would be our subdivision regulations, which I assume you would have a copy of.
Yes. I do.
And so we would be bound, by them as well as you would, as far as what needs to be done. So,
So Seth, I'm not quite sure I understand. If you were to have the building site connected with Cameron Drive, would it be within this green area, or would it be,
No, it would be within the green area, and it would have to fit on this side of the trail.
Yes.
Which is why we're dubious that that's
May
going to
not
be
be good
feasible.
soils or
And,
whatever,
well, there's
yeah.
the buffer between the brook and the trail
okay?
may well pinch that out anyway.
Yeah.
Is there
But
any,
it was-
I mean, why wouldn't you move the trail?
Um,
Just, bend it out?
Right, yeah, I don't know, I don't,
Oh.
they may not be interested in that anyway.
Yeah, all right, yeah. I just, it's just a ski trail, it's kind of easy to move.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes and no.
Yeah, right, yeah, yes and no, but, yeah, depending on topography.
You have to cut down a lot of trees. You do a lot of bulldozing.
Ski touring would probably pick up. Otherwise they'd lose it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main goals is the project is to leave the ski touring trails alone
Alone,
anyway.
yeah.
They
Which
want,
is very nice.
yes, they,
And is there any current use?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I'm
We
trying
haven't
to
looked that up yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if this is
I don't, we
really
didn't
just
find it, I
lot
didn't,
line adjustments,
it's,
all within
it's 5 lot line adjustments.
one owner.
Yeah.
They're just adjusting lots that are of record.
Right.
That would be the easiest way for you to go, obviously.
And would you be erasing part of this line?
Yes,
And that would then create
Moving it.
this
Moving.
lot, but it's... in essence,
it's all a movement, you know.
Yeah,
What does this line designate? What is over here?
They're two different
They're
tax
just
lots
two,
that they
okay.
purchased at different times. They came from,
Yeah.
this one was owned by the Pittman family well back into the 1800s, and
Yeah.
this was owned by Porath and Hoyt, and formerly
The
Chad
Chad,
Bourne,
yeah.
and went back, it was together with the whole Eagle
Yeah.
Mountain House, and it got split, that lot got created in the late 70s. And then later in the 80s, the Eagle Brook subdivision got created out of that.
See, Pittman's mother was,
I see it as a lot line adjustment.
Yeah.
It's within
Mhm.
one ownership. The only kicker is this one here.
The camera,
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be a subdivision of that lot if it were to go ahead. So, I mean, we understand.
You said all the ski trails will be on their own separate dedicated lot?
Yes, the ski trails would be on their own separate dedicated lot, which
So-
I'm not sure at this time whether that would be expected to be a buildable lot or not.
So at
Not
this
sure what
point,
that
your
is.
goal would be to make sure that the existing lots all conform with our regulations, and a new lot potentially here somewhere would conform with our regulations, and that then you'd have all the trails on one other lot. That's sort of two goals that you got?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure the goal is to make the existing ones conform per se, but they want to increase their size. I'm sure they probably will, they'll be more conforming than they are now.
So these two are existing lots, existing houses. There's dwellings,
Yeah.
units on them.
Existing septic systems, existing all that
Right,
stuff.
so we accept that.
Right,
And if you increase the area for those lots, that's better.
Yeah, that would be better.
That's for the better. This lot,
the Chase.
under agreement in the Chase lot, under agreement in the family, we want to take some more land.
yeah,
That's, to me, is still a lot line adjustment, and you're making a conforming lot. As I said before, that one would have to come up
but
to...
we would have to prove that's conforming.
Yeah.
So we will, our plan would be to do enough topography around there
To make that...
to make that, you know, I would ask, you know, do we need to show topography on the entire lot, or can we show enough topography that we've,
I would think
shown a
that you
buildable
could
lot.
show it on that lot. You show us that lot, what its septic loading would be, road frontage.
Yeah, distance from other septic or wells, and it should be good.
Should be all the regulations as they're listed in the subdivision, in subdivision
Right.
regulations.
Yeah, the question comes down to is when is this considered a subdivision and when is it a lot line adjustment? Because most of these are not really applicable to a lot line adjustment. There's some of the
I think
Some
that
of it
only when
was.
you start creating a lot here at Cameron that you run into the subdivision.
Right.
Otherwise, you've got 5 existing lots, and you change the lot line.
And as long as the lots that you end up with are all conforming, then you're good.
Or no smaller than what they are now.
Well, as I said, the one exception is
Chase
the
and-
lot, the lots, this lot with the house and the barn, the Pittman lot would be decreasing.
Right.
because
Oh,
the
yes,
trails
but it
are
would
being-
still have road
Yeah.
frontage
It would still have
and
mo-
Like the road.
the
It would still have more than enough road frontage. It
So
would-
as far as.
But do we need to show you
soils-
topography on that entire lot, for instance, to
Um,
prove that? Or is that,
What you would need to have is the soils information needed to show that you had sufficient soils according to what the regulations are now.
and is the
You would
county
not-
soil survey acceptable for that? Or do you
That-
need high
that is-
intensity mapping?
Acceptable if if it is clearly,
Okay,
all right. But
So when
if
it's-
we're talking about, is it, a few feet here, a few feet there, then you need.
if it gets close, you may ask for a hiss.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I wasn't sure how to interpret that. That's helpful there, because we would probably start with the county survey and make sure there's many lots worth of loading there, and then we don't have to perform topography of the whole thing and go through all
And
those steps.
When you make the lot, you make sure that all the amenities that are with that house, the septic system, well, and so on,
Are well within setbacks.
on
and
that.
all of that.
Yeah, so. The setbacks are moving lines.
Looks good.
So I think that is helpful. We would plan to show, let's see, I just want to make sure I've addressed all of the soils and minimum lot size. Test pits and percolation tests, again, that would be only if we're proposing a new septic system somewhere, right?
And just for the Chase lot.
Chase.
So we will need one on the Chase lot,
Right.
Yes,
even
you
though
will.
we are increasing its size, if we want it to be buildable.
Is there still a septic system there?
Yeah, that's the thing,
There
you'd
might
have
be.
to, you'd have to prove the septic system. I mean, if you can get back to the records, I suppose, and see when it was constructed,
Right.
and say, you know, well, we have a leach field and a 2,000-gallon tank,
Mhm.
I would say,
Do you know if it still has a well or a septic?
We don't.
House
Yeah,
should,
I-
yeah.
House
Yeah.
line.
Or-
Yeah, there's a well somewhere, whether there's still a pump sitting there, I don't know.
But they, I mean, just looking at
And the
this, they're,
foundation is still there,
yeah,
right?
but they're telling, just looking at this, it kind of tells me they might be too close to each other for our regulations.
Well,
These two?
No, this one,
This one.
with is that the one we're asking that has the septic or a well
Right,
still?
That's-
The Chase?
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, the house
But
is
they
right
may
now.
be too close to each other,
To what?
to what?
to each other, the septic and the
The
well.
70, there
Oh.
may not be a 75-foot
Doesn't
well
look like a lot of
radius.
room. That's all, you know, they,
And also setback from the water.
right, it's a small lot.
Because you've got the fire pond and all that swampy area behind it.
Yeah,
So one of
course.
them may be good, the well may be good, but the septic might be too close, or wouldn't that be a problem?
Anyway,
Well,
you need to find out.
Is that something, I mean, if someone purchased that lot as it was, as it were, and tried to get a building permit, they may not be able to get one at
They
all?
would not be able to.
Because the house is torn down, is that, it's
Yeah,
lost its
yeah.
grandfathered status? Is that?
There's no frontage.
If you have a non-conforming lot and you take down the house,
Mhm.
you have 6 years to
Okay,
be able to bring it, to rebuild. If it past 6 years, then your lot, then you have to be conforming.
that's close. I think it was somewhere in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's-
I was looking in, I think in the 2008 photography, there was still a house there. In the 2009, there was not.
It's written there. I was thinking it was 6 years ago.
If it were less than 6 years,
You
You
could,
might
you could
skim it.
rebuild what was
But
there.
You'd have to do it.
Yeah, you'd have to rebuild the size of what's there,
Mhm.
not bigger.
right, you'd have to actually build a house, which probably nothing's going to happen anytime soon.
But what's best is to have it so that the lot is conforming.
Mhm.
Yeah, if they wanted to set up a buildable situation for the
Yeah.
future,
Yeah.
not wanting to do something right away, it would be best
Right.
to do a soils test pit. Do all the homework
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and then it will be a lot of record.
Okay.
So I would think for their personal investment,
Yeah,
that would be the best avenue
yeah.
to take.
If they did not want it to be a buildable lot for whatever reason, would that, we're increasing its size, we ought to be able to adjust its boundary without
Yeah.
doing anything, right?
Yeah.
If we put a stipulation on the
Yeah.
plan that says this
We're
is not
not-
to be a buildable lot,
We're just making it a lot.
Doesn't
Okay.
make sense to do that, but, yeah.
no. I would agree, I would agree. And that's, so if that, with the ski trails lot, if that is to be a buildable lot, and again, I don't know if it is or not at this point. If it's,
You got frontage,
we've got frontage,
you got lots of acreage.
we've got plenty of acreage, would you need to see topography,
Not,
test pit,
Probably not, no.
not at
loading
this time.
calculations?
No, not something a lot.
Oh.
How many acres is that total?
I thought they were,
So it's
Approximately.
32, there's 32 plus 43,
Okay.
somewhere in that neighborhood, so.
I think that's the 43.
One of those, the lot with the ski trails on it's gonna
So
be
you would not
over
have to
40.
do, I guess, for the whole lot, only
Okay.
for the small
Yeah,
ones to, if you need to do that, to show beyond a doubt that it does.
Lock the door.
Okay.
I'll lock the door, yeah.
You'll lock it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I will too.
All right, I think that's enough information for us to get started.
And to have a good dialogue with them.
Yes.
And you'll be able to say, well, here's where we are.
Yep, absolutely.
What do you want us to do the engineering on? We'll do it all.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I said that Cameron Drive situation, they may not even want to pursue it anyway. It was thrown out there as a thought, but if that were the case, we would obviously topography the whole thing, that might require custom soil mapping because it would be incredibly close. But other than that, I think they're trying to do some nice things with the land here, and I also heard potential preservation of that view up to Eagle Mountain House,
Oh, that's nice.
which is, everyone knows is pretty much, can't be beat.
No. No, sounds good. So if we've answered your,
Yep, I think so.
Okay.
If I have any follow-up questions, is the best thing to get it appear at a meeting anyway, right? Just go from there. Otherwise, it's something we'll be working on over the summer here.
do you want these back or?
I don't care. If you'd like to keep some, that's fine. I didn't put any,
Oh, that's right, you're right in the neighborhood there.
Yeah,
I didn't put any
You keep
proposed
that,
information on them.
If I need it, I'll come to you.
okay. Sure, so I can print out a bunch more, click them out.
Yes, if you have any questions or need anything, just give us a call. We'll be right up the hill for a while.
Good
Thank
to
very
see you.
much. Good to see you too.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jessica will send her best.
Yes, please say
Jessica
hi to
Bennett.
her.
Well,
I can't believe she's a doctor.
I can't either.
It's pretty cool. Thanks again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then, we don't have to do this now. We have the Piedquits to sign, which we won't take up the meeting with that, but I'm just telling Betsy or Sarah. We'll do it before we move out of here. And now, did everybody get a copy of the questionnaire?
Yep.
Okay, so we've narrowed it down, and now's the time to adjust this copy of it And then I think we're ready to put it in form for a mailing. What's the next town mailing going on?
I think the tax bills are just
We just went in,
Yeah, they're out.
out a
Yeah.
little bit ago.
I think we'll have to do a separate
So
mailing.
we'll just have to spring for the postage and,
I think that was basically part of what we got
Oh,
money
it's-
allocated for,
yeah,
right? We
yeah.
had probably enough.
Was
Okay.
this how big the last one was in 2000, what was it, 3? Was-
No, it was on a legal size sheet.
No, I'm just asking, how many questions? Wasn't it, I just thought it was a couple, it was a little bigger, but on, my memory from 2003 is completely nil.
well, we worked right from the old one.
Oh, so was it 9, or something like that, 9 questions?
9 categories.
I've read it. It was on a legal sheet, and
Oh. So it was about the same.
Yeah.
then I went to 11.
We eliminated some of the
Yeah.
stuff because we've got the Whitney, we've got the library.
Right, the whole last section, we ended up taking a whole bunch out of it. In that, as we said, the library. So it was questions prior to all
All
these
the
different,
buildings,
all the
okay.
buildings that we've done.
Although, actually, on number 7, at one point, I think we said we should take the library out of it. And this is something that I meant to bring up, I forget if I did or not, but number 7's question is, should more or less attention and funding be focused? And that still applies to the library. How do people feel now about, funding it, I think people don't fund programs. I think all the town funds is salaries of people, but I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
But it's probably good to ask a question just the way, how do we feel about historic preservation or fire safety or whatever?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I was just down in Long Island, and the library in a friend's town, they were talking about it, and they literally have in their tax bill a separate figure for the library in towns. I've never seen that. So literally you put X amount of dollars or percentage towards the library.
Oh, it's your
Give
discretion?
an option on how much to put, or is it
No,
just-
there's no option, the town tells you,
Tells you.
yeah, but it comes right out of your tax bill. I
And
mean,
it probably also breaks out the school?
I didn't look at their tax bill, they were just telling me this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know that, but it was kind of interesting.
They do the same thing in Rockland, Maine.
Oh, okay.
It's part of the town, it comes out of the taxes.
Yeah.
But they just fired a whole bunch of teachers, so there you, a whole bunch of librarians, so there you go. The town did.
It'd be nice if we knew what percentage went to schools, to roads,
Right.
to recycling.
But that's about, you've got the town report has it all
Right.
broken down.
Yeah, that's true, okay.
So
Okay.
you,
So they have it.
if you care about how much goes in each direction,
You can look it up.
you can look it up and you can
Okay.
speak at, budget hearings and town meetings, so you have opportunity to give feedback.
I do have a question on the word high density. Do people know what that means?
Yeah, I saw that in the first one, and I wondered what
Yeah.
low-density population, what does that mean?
People per square mile.
But you know that, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
And I didn't know what high density meant, honest to God,
Per
until the
square
other day when
what?
I asked Jerry what it meant.
per square what?
Mile, a density of something is
Yeah, I know how much in
items
a
per given
unit.
area, unit area.
Is it done in a mile, or is that a
Could
measurement?
be whatever you want.
Oh, okay, I just thought you were saying that's
No,
the way they measure
no,
population
I don't know.
density.
Yeah, both.
But
It is the way they
Yeah.
measure.
Well, it
Yeah,
is
square mile,
statewide.
yeah.
That's how they,
Yeah,
Measure
people per
density.
square mile, yeah. You could do it
Can
so
we-
they'll take
statewide.
Carroll County and
How many people in Carroll County and how many square miles in Carroll County and do it.
The word like high density,
Yeah.
that should like say that means
Yeah,
smaller lot sizes or whatever.
Yeah, it's
because
confusing.
Because I don't,
per,
I mean, low-density population for the layman, which is me, just sounds like less population, period.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would have thought so
in
too.
the town, yeah, because the town
Well-
size isn't changing.
But it doesn't mean that. It means in an area. Correct? I mean, does it mean townwide?
Okay,
or-
all right.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? I don't
I'll agree.
under,
Should some of the town be permitted to develop at a higher density?
it's just
And are
difficult to
there more people?
understand.
Well, that was
More
that,
people in,
doing some wording in the village district to cut down on, lot sizes, or you can't, you have to deal with septic, that's state regulations, so you have to have a septic. But we, as a town, can alter how we want that density to work out. In other words, do we want to have more small buildings around on smaller lots?
I understand that. I
Yeah.
just wonder if the,
The public would understand what
Yeah.
higher density
yeah,
means.
I agree with you on that.
I didn't, honest to God, I didn't know, and I've been on this board for a little over a year now, and I
Yeah.
had to ask Jerry what it meant.
Yeah, I didn't.
And that's what I was just wondering, if I didn't understand it, the majority, would some people not understand that wording either?
Yeah, would they just take it as lower population period, but not per area? You know?
I just threw it
Yeah,
out there,
yeah,
because it's no big deal, but I didn't understand it. I just figured the rest of the people know that are going to be answering these questionnaires and know what that means.
just trying to think of another way of saying it.
Say,
Okay.
yeah,
Without using an awful lot of words.
so, yeah.
Well, if we were to put in something,
Maybe up the top up here before, so it wouldn't be in there, higher density means, or down the
right,
bottom or
that,
something,
that's
so.
what we would have to do,
Yeah.
because
Or
the
say-
statement is the most concise statement, that's correct.
Mhm.
Right.
Now, if people don't understand the words, then we should clarify the words,
That's what I meant.
but we're not going
Well,
to
you
change
might
the
be able to
statement.
do it up into the introductory paragraph there.
Mhm.
Because you did explain what the rural district meant in Route 16, and that somehow just stick it in there so people understood what the word higher density meant, that's all.
Well, it's also referred to on number 5. So,
Well, that's the one that,
That's when you were talking.
yeah, that one to me, I'm almost, if you remove that one, just, this is thought, the one in 8 almost explains itself the way it's written, almost explains itself. Should some of the town be permitted to develop a higher density, it almost
and in
defines
a
it.
way, rural atmosphere sort of says low density in just
Yes.
different words. So we could probably omit that line.
On 5,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Just,
Yeah, I can see why low-density population might be confusing.
it is, yeah.
Okay.
I guess if you're concerned still about 8, like, you could just put an asterisk next to the questions with density, and the bottom just write a definition of what density is, if that was a question.
Actually, there should be an easier way to do that. A cleaner way of talking about.
But I think it is straightforward versus, you said the low population density was confusing.
It's a little
If
more
you just strike that, it doesn't,
defining an 8, because it says should some of the town be permitted to develop a higher. It kind of defines it, but not entirely.
Well, the way it now, the village district versus the rural residential district, lots are allowed to be smaller. I mean, right now, does our zoning say, essentially say that it's allowed at a smaller lot size, therefore higher density? That's the question.
So are you thinking as part of number 8's description, we could say something like the two zoning
Right.
districts, the village district which allows higher density, parentheses, smaller lots?
Well, it's not necessarily smaller lots, though, the way it is now. It's
No.
just the frontage is different and the setbacks are different.
Right.
So you're going to have 150-foot
Frontage.
frontage in the village district, and your setbacks 50 feet.
But basically, most of your lots are already there in the village.
Yeah, the village isn't
You
going
know
to
what
change.
I mean?
Well, but if you consider the current village goes way up Route 16, a lot of those lots are not even subdivided at this point. It's-
And does that only mean for businesses, or does that mean for homes as well?
I would think
Anything
just
in the
any
village.
structure.
Okay.
Any use.
That covers it.
But right now, as far as the lot size, it's determined by minimum lot size by the soils.
Right.
So that's the same throughout the town.
With that
So maybe you could
dilemma.
say narrower or something or other, but that might be misleading too.
Right.
I think just explaining what the word high density means, rather than getting all concerned about soils and everything else, I
Yeah,
just amend the word.
Because you ask it twice, Nate, we probably should
Well-
define it a little bit.
And I'm wondering about here, doing it twice, some of the town brook minute, and then you get specific for the village loop. And my question, is the village loop the same as the core of Jackson, the same as village district?
I think we ought to leave it out altogether. Density, high density is, or density is the number of units of something against an area. And we're jumping from lots to town to
Yeah,
everything.
we're not defining it.
So maybe if we don't even use that term at all, we say more people per lot, that would be
Well, more,
pretty specific
not people per
compared to
lot.
Yeah,
high
there'd be more
density.
people, though, to be
No.
I have a high
Building per
density,
lot.
I have a high density TV, and that's got nothing to do with this.
We're talking about dots, not.
But it's dots per square area, you know?
But you're right, that could be confusing to people, absolutely.
And pixies, you've got to have a lot of pixies.
Right. We have pixies here?
Yeah, how many can dance on the top of the pin?
Right.
Do you know the answer to that?
So,
Infinite.
okay, we're
I like
going
that
to,
answer.
on 7, we'd like to add library.
Library is in there.
Well,
It is there.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, public library.
I see it. I don't have to add it.
Right, okay.
Okay.
I was looking under
On
T.
8, okay, then we'll go back to 5. We're going to omit low-density population.
Yeah.
Okay, that is omit.
I mean, I think the questions are great, I just wanted the word higher density clarified, that's all.
Yeah. And then we're going to get to that, and how would we word that at the introduction, which is where I think it should be. Do you want to make a statement of what information we're looking for from the town? We're trying to figure out if we should adjust our zoning regulations to allow for closer.
I guess we have to put the definition in the question, saying one of the things we're discussing is density, which is X.
Well, that or,
Because you have it, now 3 questions.
Yeah.
So I think it's, if you define it in the question, then you don't have to worry about it.
well, that's what we're trying to, what wording can we use up there? To say that zoning ordinance determines the lot size and therefore the number of lots permitted in a certain area, and could the I'm using lots of words now, but we'll get down here. But can the zoning regulations could be adjusted to allow more lots in a particular area or an increased population, lots or population in a given area?
Is density
Something like that.
defined in our ordinances now?
No.
No, density is just understood.
Or not.
Or
Or
not,
not.
yeah. Yeah, Court of law doesn't
True.
understand it.
Well,
Well,
So
the reason we
how-
want to make it a higher density, wouldn't it be, I didn't mean to cut anyone off. Like it asks here, should some of the town be permitted to develop at a higher density? Well, the only thought that we had was to allow for the village or the business areas to be developed at a higher density in order to increase businesses, right? Isn't that what we were thinking,
Part
or
of that,
no?
but then,
Why
you know,
else
as
would we?
Tara was saying,
Why
one
else
of the
would
things we might consider is having that Route 16B loop be a different density. Is that something that people would like? So maybe one of the ways, if we take what Sarah was saying, the zoning ordinance determines lot size and number of lots permitted in an area, the zoning ordinance could be changed to permit smaller lots, then we could, after explaining the 2 districts, we could say, should some of the town be permitted to develop on with smaller lots?
For
for
what reason?
for residential.
Oh, for whatever purpose people chose.
Yeah.
One of the goals was to see if we can get more affordable lots, less expensive housing that might attract a younger population to the town. That was one of the thoughts for having smaller lots, and not the 50-foot setback, but say a 25-foot setback, just to make it economically viable.
But I think looking at
Yeah,
it, we should look at the number of lots that we have already, and to get more lots, I mean, all of the town is divided up into lots right now. So to get more lots, then you'd have to take the existing lots and cut them down.
Well, and
Is that-
there are some
but you
instances.
look around the village, is that doable? Most of the land is, the whole center of it is the golf course.
Well, for example, right now, you know, the village goes all the way up Route 16, and I know sometimes we've discussed having it, say, end at Eagle Mountain Road or something like that. So between the current village core and Eagle Mountain Road, there are some parcels that are pretty big, you know, 60 acres, 30 acres. So if some of those were to be subdivided, if they were buildable, and you could get maybe 12 condos on a 30-acre lot or something like that, and still have land, you know, there's going to be some undevelopable land along that, even if you could fit in 20 houses or 10 houses or something. But if we're permitting higher density, smaller lots, or condo lots, you know, that are allowing more residences than might be allowed in other parts of the town, would that be a good thing? That's the kind of thing we want to find out how people feel, right?
Could you just put in parentheses next to higher density, smaller lots, and let it go at that? I didn't mean to.
Or say
Oh.
smaller
Or
lots
put it-
instead of higher density.
Put it at number 9, where it's, I guess, because when you said something to give it context to, if you're talking about making an enticement for lower cost housing, then shouldn't that question just be moved down as part of number 9 then, if that's what you're talking about, in terms of changing the lots, if that's the end?
That could work too. Should we permit smaller lots to enable creation of lower cost housing or something like that?
Or if you're in favor of pursuing it, then
Mhm.
is this something you'd want to pursue, whatever, discuss?
Now, would the smaller lots just be for lower cost housing, or would it also be to encourage more businesses?
I should think it should be for businesses too. I know at one point Larry's, Bama wanted to have some small kind of craft shops that were going to be on his land. I
A
don't know
mini
if he-
mall.
Yeah, well, he was thinking about little individual buildings that would be little craft shoppy kind of places. Is that something the town wants? I don't know.
But then I hear that, I missed the meetings unfortunately, is it sounds like you're saying, opening up a can of worms to the whole minimum lot size.
Well, that's what happens is, okay,
That's why I was
We
giving
have
a
a
context to
focus.
one thing.
and we're thinking, that we're looking for the ultimate good. Some developer comes in, and he's not looking for the ultimate good, he's
Yeah.
looking how to, you know,
You're
to
looking for the bottom line.
bang out the most,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
And that's why we tried so hard to get the soil, sample, test in, because it works for us, which, what we came up with is it's basically a 2.5 acre lot. That works for Jackson.
Well, as Kathleen brought out at one point, Gary had brought out the idea of a community sewage system being very viable for the village.
You
It's
get
not
deep
real viable.
pockets,
What?
you get deep pockets.
Deep pockets
Well, I mean, what is,
for
what,
20 people.
what
I
does
mean,
the
I would want
Wentworth,
it, being,
Right.
yeah,
what does the
but-
Wentworth have? They don't have individual septics.
Who?
The Wentworth condos?
Surely we do,
You have an individual septic for
Oh,
every
yeah, of
resident?
course they do.
right,
Yes, they
Oh, my
do.
word.
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't
And
know
some
that.
of them are under the golf
I hope
course,
they
so be
increase
careful.
the setback for the addition of
So I guess
Step, eh?
if we just go back to these 3 questions and just give each one context, maybe it will help us understand if they should stay, move, be striked, whatever.
We could just say that we want to think about reducing the lot size, but what is it that really drives the lot size? It's the septic.
soil.
So if you have
Yeah.
community sewer, then you could have a denser lot size, isn't that
Well,
what
then you
Gary
can
was
have
pointing
row
out?
houses. or-
That's true,
So
but
I
we
guess
have
the question is, should
incredible
some of the town be
taxes.
permitted to develop at a higher density? So then, if, just to put that in layman's terms or give it context, how could we make that easier to understand?
Also, remember, these are just the questions.
Questions.
We're not coming up with the answers yet. If from this questionnaire, we get enough input in one direction or another, then we have to work at the wording of that. And that's where we'd have to be really careful of how we construct that. But for now, I think we should just go ahead and ask the questions.
So I guess as was stated at the beginning was just if you get this in the mail and you're saying, well, what does higher density mean and how is it applicable to
Okay.
each question?
I
Yeah,
agree with
So how,
clarifying that as best we can.
And is it workable to simply say smaller lots instead of higher density?
I think
But
so.
you're going by,
Well, can you just put in parentheses next to
yeah,
it?
you're
I mean,
going by soil,
because-
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe we don't,
So so it may be that
we
it
go
may
by,
not be possible to
That's what
go
I'm
for a
saying.
higher density
but
unless
we
one.
go by soils, but the state doesn't go by the soils the way we do. And if people had individual, if complexes had their own septic systems, their own sewage systems, they would go by different setups. So
Gosh, I'm really sorry I brought this up.
no, I think this is good because I look at it in the opposite way is, should some town be permitted to develop at a higher density? So what is it we're really looking at? What's the question we're asking?
That's,
That's the question.
Right, are we trying to
We're trying to say,
get more houses per square mile, but it seems like a big figure, but it's not. Are we trying to get more houses per square unit? Or are we, what, yeah.
Or
what
we're trying
are
to get more businesses.
Right, are we trying to have more business
Is that the way to
opportunities?
encourage business?
Maybe the question should be something like, are you in favor of encouraging additional commercial business? Are you in favor of encouraging additional residential construction, or something like that?
By reducing lot size,
Mhm.
okay?
Well, I'm not sure we can, just leave the lot size out.
That's what I'm,
Because
because
you
you're going
encourage,
to
because you can
soil.
encourage business. without
Okay,
changing-
just encourage business and
Yeah.
encourage,
Okay.
More housing.
Yeah.
right.
I'm just saying, you're looking at it, as you said, it's just a way to rewrite the question so someone gets it.
Right,
It's like the New York Times is written at a third grade level, so you pick it up, you can read it. Basically, the same thing here, is you can understand the question.
Because in some sense,
Pretty
the,
optimistic about
our cluster development,
citizens of Jackson.
or
Thank you.
some of them are third grade level, those in third grade. That the cluster development or condos is actually higher density development, but we allow that if they have sufficient open space around it.
Right.
So,
We already,
yeah, so we already have higher density in that people are living closer together.
Maybe
then,
one of-
then why even
Yeah.
have that question in there?
Right,
then?
well,
We
that's why I
already do
think
that.
but Betsy's suggestion of approaching it a different way, just encouraging more commercial.
And maybe we should say more small commercial or something like that, so that people know
Well,
we're not
with
coming
that-
in with a mall or something.
Oh, you can allow, it doesn't come out that way. Right, in Jackson.
You could ask that question, the small,
Yeah.
You
do
have
we
a
want
mini mall right by the post office,
a boat dock?
by the post
Oh, I
office.
thought you said boat dock. Where's that? I'm sorry.
I said, you have a mini mall by the post office.
The Wentworth development, I happen to know quite a bit about it, is not higher density at all.
Right.
Because the septic systems were, it was allotted to have certain size septic systems, and you could build up to that stage.
Right.
So it was the same density as
Right.
before, the same,
Right.
so,
Just with open space preserved as the septic fields.
well, back in those days, they didn't talk like that, but they said you have to have so much area for your fields, and so they said, so you can put in this many units.
Right.
And so it has been, I know the Mallet family tried to increase the number, and they said, no, remember, you've got a golf club down there, and there's a hotel, and,
Yeah, but did they increase the septic for the 12 units they just added?
and so we were not allowed to expand.
What if we just said to increase commercial and residential
Yeah.
use?
Well, you go back to 5 again, business opportunities, very important, some are important, unimportant, so you're, do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, well, it's just, that would be two different, I mean, are you here because you have a business opportunity is what Clyde is asking, or the important features to you, and so if you say that business opportunities is very important,
No.
that's one thing, but if you think it, should there be more business opportunities, or should
Yeah,
they be
this is
encouraged
like
to
Five
increase?
is more, who are you? And then the other questions are, what do you think?
What do you want?
Plus, often it's good in questionnaires to ask people questions in a couple of different ways and see, have they changed? Do they feel this way
Yeah.
here, but given this type of question, they've changed their opinions or something. Sometimes that happens.
You should be a police investigator. That's exactly what they do.
maybe we should just leave it as it is.
No,
I just removed it.
No, I mean the word higher, the word density, higher density. maybe everybody else understands it, and I just
Well, I
wasn't
didn't.
getting it.
Well, it never occurred to me, you know, the high-density television and so on, I mean, it is a thing that people might be confused
It
about.
is confusing.
Yeah, I think it's very valid.
Plus, I don't think we can,
Do it anyway.
right.
Unless we
unless-
completely throw out our whole system of,
Exactly.
which would be
So
insane.
it's, what you really want to know is, you know, do you want more commercial? Do you want more
More houses.
houses, more residential opportunities?
And then we'll try and figure it
But
out.
isn't that asked down in should zoning regulations be modified to encourage additional new or expanded commercial development?
Yep.
I mean, it's
But-
already
Yes,
there.
but that's where I also agree with Betsy's, you were asking the same question, but
You're asking.
it may be a little clearer, a little more concise. I don't think it'll hurt our correlation
To have it in there.
to put it in there.
So I think that actually sums up what we're talking about for the commercial aspect,
Right.
and have the same thing just for residential.
All right.
That's really what you're asking, is do we want to discuss changing zoning to increase business or increase residential use?
Yeah, two separate questions.
Right,
One
yeah,
for,
Yeah.
one for commercial, one for...
exactly, I'm saying, but that's the answer to the higher
Higher
density.
density.
Yeah,
I think-
right, I think you're right there.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So if we strike the three questions of higher density and just add one for residential, saying, do you know,
Right.
That'll give us the information, then we can go
Yeah.
on.
yeah, because I know you're saying, is
work it
we're going
out.
to react to the question.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure the question is
Make the question
simple.
answer what we need.
Make-
How about, do we keep that question, should there be new areas of town where businesses are permitted?
Yes,
Okay,
because that's a different aspect.
So we're striking the first, third, and fourth question,
great,
and then you're going to add a question based on that.
great, yeah. So, and the permitting grandfathered inns and other businesses in their non-conforming locations, do we keep that?
Yep.
Okay. Home-based businesses with more than 3?
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's also that question, and maybe it's redundant, should we have zoning regulations modified to limit additional development? Maybe that's already answered if people have checked on desirable above.
So should the word "with" be here? Should home-based businesses be permitted with more, use or with more than 3 employees?
Or permitted to have,
With.
Yeah.
maybe to have.
To have, yes.
And while we're doing grammar, the one before, should zoning, he said, should zoning change, so it's should zoning regulations be changed? Or, yeah, should zoning be changed
To permit.
to permit?
Okay, great. And similarly, the last question on 8, should zoning be changed to further encourage recreational usage?
Mhm.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Well, right now, we don't, I think, in terms of permitted uses, I don't think we have hiking trails or ski trails. And so, you know, for example, this lot that is, might be proposed by the Kembles that will maybe have nothing on it but ski trails.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Right now, I think it's not a permitted use,
What?
which is crazy because it is an existing use.
Right.
And so it makes sense to me to pay
Does
attention
it
to.
say anywhere in our zoning ordinance that it's not permitted?
Well, if you go
It
by,
doesn't-
if it's not stated as permitted, then it's not.
Okay.
That's one of Sarah's hobby horses, is that, and they say that you should never have a zoning ordinance that says this, this, and this are permitted, and this is not permitted. You either have a zoning ordinance where these things are not permitted,
Mhm.
and everything else is permitted, or these things are permitted and everything else is not permitted. But
Because
ours has a little of each.
If something isn't on either list, is
Right.
it permitted or not? And the way we have it now, the rural residential district, use permitted. Okay, uses permitted is residents of various categories and accessory apartments. You have farms, you can have customary home occupations and the historical side or the historical museum. That's all that's permitted.
Oh, so,
And then in the,
It doesn't mention the number of employees, does it?
Well, it
That's
does,
the
because of
definition.
customary home
Okay.
yeah,
occupancy.
it does.
Yeah,
Right.
and then you have under
Right, 'cause I thought it did somewhere else, but not
Three
there.
people.
Yeah.
the section on the River Conservation District. It has other uses defined, if I can get the right section.
Yeah,
You can
and-
have a hard time telling me I can't cut a trail out behind my house.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is an attitude that you'll run into if you think that you're going to regulate.
Not regulated, just permitted.
Yeah.
Could
Right
that
now,
be-
it's not
I don't
permitted.
think so.
As of now, yeah, that's what they're saying, is the ski touring is not permitted.
Yeah.
And
You
it's
read
not
our
Well,
listed
now,
as
that's a
permitted use.
business, now I'm talking about, okay,
Yeah.
that's a business.
But the trails,
But
You
it's
that-
call it
touring.
your profit business, but it's a business.
That's right.
but their trails are not permitted. We don't
Right.
permit
Right.
recreational usage,
Yeah.
and that's crazy.
And another point was the couple of years back when the gentleman came and wanted to, down at Nesselnook, put in a tube.
Slides.
A tube, you know, and it's not permitted, but it's a use that fit. You know, I mean, if we've got, you know, if Black Mountain wants to put in a tube hill,
They have
can he?
A zip line?
Or a zip line, or, I mean, you know, is it permitted at this
A
point?
tubing hill?
Yeah,
They
he came in,
use the
he wanted to at
J-Bank.
Nesselnook, but our ordinance doesn't say it's permitted.
And if you look at our village district zoning, it has these uses are permitted and these uses are not permitted. And they really say you need to do one or the other.
Yeah.
So
And then if you go to the River Conservation District, the uses permitted, there's about 13 of them. Agriculture and farm uses is on page 9, if you have your zoning ordinance. Forestry with recognized soil conservation practice. I'm just giving a summary here.
Oh, that's good.
Residential accessory uses, lawns and gardens, parks, conservation, sealed water supplies, temporary non-residential structures, connection with growing or sale of crops, uses accessory to public open space like picnic tables, shelters, etc. Private roads, driveways, bridges, utilities, essential to uses outside of the River Conservation District, in other words, to get from one side to the other. Improvements to existing municipal school district and church facilities, agricultural buildings, construction maintenance of farm, forest, or recreational service roads, river or floodway maintenance subject to required federal permits, replacement of septic systems. So all these things are listed as permitted uses for the River Conservation District.
But
Which is
not
an
a ski
overlay.
trail.
But not for the town.
But not a ski
Um,
trail.
What about
Right,
golf?
no, parks,
Well, you can call it a-
parks, conservation areas, nature
I'm just saying
trails,
if
and
it's-
recreation
it's not
uses.
Trails, okay.
Recreation uses consistent with the purpose and intent of this ordinance, which is another list of things, which is preserving. In other words, low impact recreation type, like hiking and skiing. So you could have these recreational uses if you're along the river, but not otherwise. So
Not on the
that,
piece of property he just showed us.
you know, only the part that's closest to that would be the
Conservation
And
District.
you can't get there or
Technically,
leave it.
they can't do that. But
Right.
Jackson Ski Tour did it, so it's perfectly okay.
Well, the question is what does the town want? What makes sense for the town? And since skiing is such a important part of the economy, I would think that we wouldn't want to restrict it.
Right.
So maybe
So-
to further encourage recreational usage, say trails for skiing, hiking, golf.
Don't
Well,
specify.
You don't need to specify.
You
in
don't
the survey.
specify.
No, I don't think so.
A lot of people don't think we're talking water parks or.
Can we go back to the previous question also? I just don't understand the verbiage of this one.
Well, anyway, it's often a
We were
tangent, but
going
we
to
need
drop
to take care of
the
that.
idea about limit.
Oh, okay, that's the, I was gonna say.
Because that seems redundant.
Yes.
With the one above.
Well,
Yeah.
So the whole question's
we
gone.
Oh,
have,
good, 'cause that doesn't
I'd
make
really
sense
like
to
to clear up these
Okay.
Oh,
inconsistencies.
yeah, definitely.
And then have this.
So we're going to leave that one be, what we're saying, other than change the grammar. Should zoning
Yeah.
be changed to further encourage recreational uses, we're going to leave that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense.
yeah, there's no need to change it.
Okay, you want to kick 9 around a little? Okay, I'm going to read it. The Jackson Grammar School is designed to accommodate 75 students in grades K through 6. Currently, about 50 children attend. Sending Jackson's 6th graders to Bartlett Elementary School is estimated to cost about $20,000 per student.
That's a non sequitur, isn't it?
It's 21 to go to Bartlett this year.
I'm wondering,
Do we
somebody
need that?
knows in their mind what they're trying to say here, but it's not clear to me.
It sure isn't.
So,
Why is it even in here?
Right.
was my
I just brought it in because it came from when we were at the school district meeting.
yeah,
And people were saying, well, why don't we close the 6th grade? It's so expensive. And it's such a small number. And then they told us it was going to cost $20,000 per student.
21 this coming year.
What?
21.
That's
Okay,
that's
well-
a set of seventh grader, right?
Well, anyway, it was going to cost us about $20,000 per student to transfer them over there, which made $120,000 that we'd have to spend, which meant it would be more expensive to send them to Bartlett than it would be to educate them here. But that question doesn't come through that way. So that's not well stated.
But the arrangement now is when we send like X amount of 7th and 8th graders there.
Yeah.
That's the same tuition cost, right?
Apparently.
It's
Yeah.
21 to go to Bartlett next year.
But what
The
does that have to
seventh
do with
and
the
eighth
planning
grade.
board?
It doesn't.
It
really.
doesn't have anything
But-
because you can't control it. It's controlled by the school district.
Well,
So why is it even in?
well,
Can't do that.
because of the questions below.
But why? Is it even in there? I mean, why is?
I guess it's confusing because unless we reach the threshold of 80 students or something, if the school reached the capacity beyond what it's set, it's made for, then we would discuss things, in my mind,
Well,
right?
maybe the
Shouldn't
second
do that.
sentence should say,
I guess this doesn't make sense to me, because we're way below the capacity of the school.
so maybe the second sentence should say something about, because we're not at capacity.
I don't think it
I don't think we-
belongs in
I don't think
there.
anything belongs in there about the school.
I'm
you should
all
ask
for eliminating that sentence.
I'm
It sounds
Yeah,
like.
I
all of
don't think
9?
all of
Yeah,
nine.
I don't think it belongs
No,
in
the second sentence, sending.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
I
I
think
can
the
do that.
second sentence should go.
agreed.
But I think it's important to have something in there that asks about what people's feeling is about having a way to attract younger families, because that's an issue that the school has been working with, and they can't deal with that on their own. That's a zoning issue.
Not necessarily a
No.
zoning issue, Betsy. It all has to do with the fact that there are houses in Jackson that are affordable for young people.
And there's a
There
lot
was
of
one-
rentals too.
And there's a lot of rentals. There's just recently, there's one for $120,000 in the newspaper. Goes up to $235 or $239. And then there are ones that are $500,000 and $600,000. Jackson just won the Eddie's Award, and to screw that up, take the 6th graders out of there, I mean, it's such an honor to have gotten that. Now, what they need to do is the real estate companies need to go out and promote Jackson because of their great schools. the Chamber of Commerce needs to do the same thing, and then people will come. But, and want to be here in this town for their kids to go to this school,
But
not
if
the
you talk to
planning
younger
board.
families,
But
younger
unfortunately,
families
the
are saying
chamber
there's no-
doesn't promote
Well, they
that
should.
as, I know, but they don't promote, they promote business because that's where the money for the chamber comes from, is the businesses.
but you take families, some of the younger families like Dudley and Kim Davis, they couldn't afford to buy something in Jackson, the land, or, I don't know if they were looking for a house. There are some other families, Nikki, I forget her last name, but there are several younger families that I've spoken with that cannot afford to live in Jackson and would like to be able to be here. There's one,
There are 250 houses under $200,000.
what?
There are 250 houses under $200,000.
Not in Jackson.
What, I've got the figure right here.
Yeah.
She gave it to us.
Yeah. They were
Not
out there.
available for sale.
What?
Not
They're not for
available.
sale.
Not for
Yeah.
sale, but they're there.
Yeah, but they're
And,
there.
and then
They're
you also
gone.
have to
Got
think
a
about
bunch
the
of old
fact that,
people living
Well,
Yeah,
and a
well-
lot of them are just camps, most of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
then,
if they could improve those.
and then you also have to think about the banks. Are they willing to loan money to young people today? No, they're not.
Yeah, it's
It's, so
Wow.
there's a big circle situation here. It's not just something that we can just say, okay, we're going to change this or ask these questions and come up with the answers.
There's also another 300 houses under 300,000. You know, so we've got 550 houses under $300,000.
So I think if you have your real estate
You've got the
promoting how wonderful Jackson is for their schools and their recreation areas and things like that, you'll get people attracted to come and live here.
But so many of those houses that are priced, say, under 300,000 are second homes that are not on the market. They're not available for rent or sale. And they're not necessarily habitable year-round.
But could be.
Could probably be made to be habitable year-round. Maybe that would, let's say you're paying 200,000 for a house, and then you have to spend another, 75 or 150 or whatever to make it more habitable.
But every young couple I've ever known, including myself, you start in a starter home
That's right.
and you work on it, and it gives you something to work for. Had I not had a little camp to work on, I wouldn't have had anything to even stay here. It gave me purpose.
Well, and that's an ideal, we all
Yeah.
were in
So-
that, but now a lot of families...
So let's go back to the question.
Okay, just a second. A lot of families are now two-income households. They don't have necessarily the time to put into reworking a house themselves.
But there is a lot of rentals in Jackson. There is horrendous rentals, Betsy. There are many.
So we decided we'd take out the second sentence. Right, back to you.
Sending Jackson sixth graders, yes.
Yeah.
It couldn't hurt to get the information from people. And ask, should Jackson examine ways, why not ask the questions? I mean, it can't hurt to ask these questions. Should Jackson examine ways to attract younger families?
That, I understand that should be in there.
Yeah, should Jackson. The for sale housing, I don't understand what that means, or the lower.
Well, there's rental units and there's units that you can buy. There's a difference between who you attract with a rental and if you can actually purchase it.
Right.
Also, if you purchase, you're way more a member of the community. If you're a renter, yeah, you're here, you're fine, your kids go to the school, but next year you could be in Conway renting, found a better place or bigger or whatever. If you buy, like you were just saying, you've got something to work on and build equity in, and it is a starter house. But it puts you out of that rental situation and into something you own, and that money is coming back to you eventually. You pay a mortgage and all that, but it just locks you in. You're more a member of the community. But I think that's the difference between rental house, because if we can have the in-law apartment or a rental apartment or the garage apartment, that's good. it has to be there too, but I think that affordable housing has to be there to really get people locked into the community.
So do we want the question to ask about the school? I mean, I understand the 3 questions below and why they would be valuable, but
I don't think it has that, should.
does it have to do with the school?
Yeah, I don't
Or
think
does
that,
it just have to do with younger families?
younger families, I think putting
I
the
don't
school
understand
there is.
who Jackson is. It says, should Jackson examine ways to attract younger families? Who would do that?
Right.
You see, he said the Chamber of Commerce promotes businesses. I don't understand that question.
Yeah,
Well, it would be if we can do anything to help. I think it all comes back to the housing, you know.
and
Well, I'm just
so-
saying, I think that question doesn't make sense. That's all. I think it's, the other two about affordable housing for rent and for sale makes sense.
Well,
I understand
I
what-
mean, you do it through zoning. That's the only thing we're going
Well, I
to
understand
affect
those two.
by
I'm just
this
saying, I
anyway.
understand the threat of the families to the school, but if you take the school out and just, you know, does Jackson want to examine younger families? I think it's just a cycle of things. Like sometimes the school is full.
If the enrollment goes up, Jackson's always gone just like that.
Exactly, it always has.
Yeah, I know, it will.
You know,
But I just say, I guess I don't understand this, that question if you don't have the school question. And it just seems like that doesn't make sense to me.
But, wait a minute, we're not,
Well, either remove the statement on the top.
not the whole statement, just the
The
second
whole
line.
statement.
I would do the whole statement. I would just talk about this,
Right.
just the last 2
Attracting people.
questions
Yeah.
about low-cost housing.
What does the school have to do with
Well,
it?
some people though say, we don't want to have any more young families because then we'd have to expand the school. So some people don't know that the school has a capacity beyond the way it's
But it
currently
just
built.
doesn't belong there, I don't think.
No, I don't think it belongs in
And I
there.
guess that's another thing too, is that, you know, if someone's saying, when right now we're not, I guess if we were at 80 kids in the school, we'd say, okay, let's look at expanding or alternatives, but we're at 50 kids, so I don't feel that to get 50% increase the next 10 years is
It's not gonna happen.
something that we should discuss
Yeah.
now.
Well, is,
You know what I'm saying? Just-
I'm not sure I understand.
does it make sense here to say, okay, the school designed for 75 students, and there are currently 50 students in, and the enrollment is decreasing. And then that would be a segue into, well, should we examine ways to get younger families to live in Jackson? I mean, that's the impetus, is the fact that the school enrollment is decreasing.
It might this year, but it won't next year. I know there's a whole bunch of, there's kids coming, new kids coming to the school
Mhm.
next year. So it's going to increase. We do have young people coming in
Okay?
with children.
Good.
I mean, I know that through the furniture business. And I also know it because of the school as well. And if anybody read that article that Chris Bailey had written, which was a wonderful article, it comes and it goes like this. Jackson's a really neat place to live. We don't need to promote it, Jackson needs to promote that. And one of the benefits is the great school that we have. Whether it's up or down or whatever it is, that's the cycle that it goes through and has always gone through for the past 30 or 40 years. But I don't think it needs to be
In here.
in here.
So you would just eliminate the
The question, the number
the
9.
preface
Yeah, the
Yes.
preface.
So you
and just ask the
add-
questions?
Yes.
But I guess,
Well,
one thing
then
I don't
add
understand
these
is if we're asking
three-
the town to do this, you're saying you're asking the town to do a marketing campaign or
Exactly.
something?
Yeah,
Why
I mean,
not?
it's, no.
If people are in favor of looking into it, is, right?
Well, if the school.
How
were-
we implement it is different than
Right.
asking the question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then if we did have a lower enrollment over the next 10 years, well, then the town, you know, might want to step in and promote.
Right, and then Betsy was saying the contrary, is that you want to let people know also that the school can be expanded. Right, is that what you're saying?
No, that it already is expanded to,
Or is that 75 is the capacity?
right, and we're not at capacity now, therefore, basically it's sort of lost dollars because we're paying for teachers to be able to teach, let's say, 16 or 17 in a class, and they have 12 maybe. So, you know, if we had a few more students in each class, that might be desirable. How do people feel about that?
I don't think any parent would like that. I
What?
don't think any parent would like more students in a class. Our school is so wonderful because it's so,
Well, but I
you
mean,
know,
we,
hands-on.
I think our,
Yeah.
our capacity of classes right now is either 16 or 17, I forget
Yeah.
which is what we've stated. And so often the classes now are very small, you know, what was it, last year or the year before, there was one sixth grade girl. You know, was that yours?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the beauty of that school.
Well,
yeah,
sure, and it's
but
also the
there's
problem
also
of the school.
Two,
Yeah.
I guess I just don't see the relevance of any of that
I
here.
don't,
Yeah.
I
No,
agree,
why?
I agree.
so
Well,
you
it
want
is-
to just take the last 3 questions that are in 9 and tag them on to 8?
Yes.
Mhm.
The last two.
Last two
The
questions?
last two.
Yeah, good idea. That would solve it.
That- That solves the whole thing.
I guess they tie that back and tie that into the zoning districts and the village district, and that's part of the same thing as well.
And should we ask any question about senior citizen housing or something or other, you know, not just about young families, but about other ages?
Well, I don't think there's any problem of
No.
the senior citizen population in
Now
Jackson,
they throw
which is,
them in the missing.
which is definitely increasing.
Okay.
We're getting more every year.
All right.
Everybody's getting more senior every year.
For a second.
I agree with you on that.
So then my thought would be that if we have, or when we finish this, that we get it out to each of us and then a copy also to Phil Davies, so that if he feels we've asked a leading question or something or other, or if there's a better way to phrase something, he could help with that.
Wouldn't hurt for another set of eyes.
Okay.
So do you want to make the changes then and send it out to all of us?
Sure, I'll do that.
My, aside here, my daughter is the chairman of the school board where she lives, and they're facing the same problem that we are with their school. They have a school that's from kindergarten through 12th grade, and there's 200 and some kids in the whole school. And how do you attract people to the town? And she went to all the real estate companies to encourage what a great school that they had for them to see that. And that's what made me think about the real estate companies, for people to encourage them coming into town because of the limited classrooms and what the school had to offer young people coming in. That was an incentive.
That's what the grammar school has done too. Kristen
Yep.
Graves has come up with a brochure about it,
Yep.
and Paul Mayer was on the school enrollment committee, and he, you know, when we started on that school enrollment committee, there was on the multiple listing that real estate agents use, you know, there's a question about primary school, secondary school, or I guess middle school and secondary school. And for the Jackson properties that were on the market, they left primary school blank and or middle school blank and secondary school Kennett. They didn't say anything about the Jackson Grammar School on the multiple listing things.
Yeah.
And so Paul Meyer got that changed, as I understand it. So I think now on all the listing forms that I've seen lately, they've come through with Jackson Grammar School on the primary. So that's at least one positive change.
And like they just got that Eddie's Award, which is really,
That's huge.
really
Yeah, that is
huge.
Yeah.
That's something that the town, not the town, the real estate people and the Chamber of Commerce, even though they just deal with businesses, should be trying to encourage when they have people asking questions. And
Absolutely.
this is a reason to come to Jackson. You know, they've got great schools, they've got great cross-country ski trails, they've got great downhill ski trails, they've got a great golf course. I mean, there's so many things here. And not only that, but the sense of community here is unbelievable, I think. And that should all be encouraged. And how do you encourage it? Through marketing. And that's how you encourage young people and older people to come and middle-aged people.
Do we want to ask that question? Should the town be actively involved in marketing the town? And, or encouraging?
When you just
You
say-
had just asked who's going to do that. Well, yeah, the realtors might, the Chamber of Commerce won't.
I would
they-
think the chamber would, because it gives their, who they're representing.
Yeah. Well, they don't, let's say that. What they do put out there is the golf courses, the ski areas, that, but I don't think probably never thought about, nobody's included them in our discussions. They probably haven't ever thought about the grammar school or they're thinking about bringing tourists. They're not thinking about bringing residents. Yeah. But they could be involved. Better communications.
I think there's more young people coming in here all the time than we give credit to or we're aware of or
I
recognize.
think you're absolutely correct. When you see all the parents, they're so involved with the school
Oh, yeah.
and with and outside the school as well. The coaching and the encouragement and then when we need more kids, we include Bartlett in all this. And it's a great community for young people to grow up in. And you just have to see it. But then we have a lot of older people in town that don't see this kind of stuff and they don't understand it.
Right, they'd come to it when they don't have kids who are going to the schools.
Yes.
Mm.
And that's in any town, that's just not here. But the town is, like I said, a wonderful place to live and needs to be marketed that way.
Do we want to ask a question about marketing the town or?
No.
No.
All right. Yeah.
No, but, it's something we could all keep in our minds and add to various discussions. I mean, well, get out there, you talk to people and talk to people. And say, it's time to, get active about promoting just the town.
I think we all promote the town our own way. We all love it here and live here and choose to
Right.
stay here. And that's, I think it's also like, this is a very small town and the amount of, energy people have here is incredible. I mean, we're a 600-person town and it's like all these things that we're doing, these are usually in much larger scale towns. I think sometimes people lose perspective. We really are we're a small town.
I'd like to see something happen to the Main Street bottleneck we have here. We need 2 lanes and parking on either side, and we don't have that. And so if people park on either side, you don't get 2 lanes.
You're not
So
gonna-
what you need is a fault line that just separates the buildings.
Well, you need to do some widening
Yeah, but
or
where
put up
The state
curbs.
think
They would have, I don't think they can.
line's correct.
I mean, isn't this a lovely town? My God, where am I going to drive, It's,
Only sometimes.
it's,
Plenty of times I've
Yeah,
gone
there's
down
only certain
Main Street and
weekends.
I'm the only guy.
It's actually I kind of like it when you can go in there and you see it's crowded and some
I
people
do
are
too,
here.
like, oh yeah.
It's
what's
like
going
North
on?
Conway, you learn when to go into town and not to.
Exactly.
well,
it's so-
that may be so. I've been involved in highways for a lot of my life. And, like the 16A and 16 intersection up here where you're going like that, that's a horror show. We went, spent thousands and thousands of dollars making T intersections because they're a lot safer than this slip ramp business.
There was a
And,
teen killed there back in the 70s or something, wasn't there?
yeah, my wife gets upset when I drive up there and turn around like this and then
Dr.
turn
Box
right.
style.
Yeah, you want to see what's coming at you.
Right.
Ricky Backles killed her.
Okay, so we're going to redo the questionnaire after our discussion of this evening.
Yep.
We need to change the subdivision application about postage. We now have a postage meter in the office, so that the check for subdivision that goes for all the mailings of the abutter notices should be written for that purpose, but to the town of Jackson. And then they can just send it right, they have all the
Yeah,
forms.
they had that meter for
Yeah, and they talked to me about it, so I brought it here. Is that something we can do as a housekeeping item?
Subdivision, yes.
But we have to have a public hearing.
For what?
Maybe not if it's just a tiny thing like postage, but remember when that Burke York guy was here? He told us that he had a better checklist type of thing.
Okay, I just want to talk about the postage right now.
Okay,
And let's get to the end of that, and then we'll go on to
okay.
whatever else. So, but on the postage, I think we can just change the words.
Yeah, if it's housekeeping, yeah.
And ask all the survey companies to get their client to make a check out to the town of Jackson.
Is that on the checklist now we give to people? I'm just saying it just be changed internally?
Yes.
Part of the regulations themselves.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
If it's part of the regulations themselves, do we have to do it more formally?
I think if it's just postage, then it doesn't need to be, but if we're going to
Think about
combine
it.
it.
It's just where the money goes for the postage.
Yeah,
Doesn't change anything.
That's housekeeping.
Yeah, that's housekeeping.
Okay, thank you.
But over the years, we've made, ideas, to add this section, planning board has the right to waive any requirement, a condition, refer to RSA, such and such. The completed application shall have a marked checklist affirming submission of materials required by board. So we've made these suggestions. The next time we review and change our subdivision regulations, we should do X, Y, and Z. Maybe we ought to do it as part of one big review.
Yeah. But I'd like to go to the office tomorrow or Monday and tell them to, as they make up new applications, they don't have to make new ones, but maybe put a slip in and say, make the check out to town of Jackson.
Okay, so right now, I see it, section 6.02, where we say make it out to Postmaster Jackson, and the change would be to make it out to town of Jackson?
Yes, for postage.
Okay,
So there'd still be 3 checks, one for town of Jackson fee, one for the county for registration, and one to the town for postage. I think that will keep it cleaner, and I think the bookkeeping then will stay straight, because they all happen at different times.
great, okay.
Actually, it just needs to be added to, it says other costs include a check payable to town of Jackson to cover, and then it lists off the ones you just said. $40 for the registry, $24 for posting the notices, $35 for secretary time, and then just add on
Butter notice.
the butter notices there. And
Okay. So it
So
could be 2
instead of that
checks.
number 2, a check made payable to postmaster, you would just have an
Eliminate
out
that.
and
Add
say,
on.
Say 2 checks, one for registering at
right, so
county.
right, the first check is a set amount.
okay,
But the number 2, the check payable to cover the current, and that depends on how many abutters you have. So the amount of the check for in number 2 is, you can't put it in the regulations as how much is.
right, okay.
But what it's for.
Yeah. So they know how to determine it.
Yep.
Great.
So really, the only change needs to be is in number 2, payable to town of Jackson.
Okay. Well, would it be helpful if I don't know if other people also have made notes on their land subdivision regulations, but if I made notes of the various ones we've discussed over the years, but have never actually changed, and send them out as a separate attachment?
That'd be
Would
great.
that be okay?
Do you have the subdivision regulations electronically?
Yes, I think I do.
Because
Quite
you
sure I
could
do.
probably do something like track changes, or just put
It's a
changes
great
in,
idea, okay,
in a different color,
yep,
or italics or underlined or something.
yep, great.
And anytime you do one of those, can you send it to the town too?
Yes.
And that way, when it comes up for a meeting or something, I can get copies made right there. They just push the button and,
I think I always send them to the town so that Bea will
Okay.
get a copy, because you still don't get anything
No,
electronically at
I'm not
home.
getting,
Great, so ideally Julie lets Bea know when the things
Yeah.
come through, I think.
that's why I'm asking you to make
Great.
sure you
Okay, good.
send anything in.
Yep, try to
And
do
then we
that.
can get
Super.
people hard copies right in their hand.
But do you have a Twitter account or anything?
why do I get enough phone
blame you,
calls
Bea.
Right.
and
I don't blame you.
telephone?
I'm waiting for me to have a blog. That would be fascinating.
Oh, no. People get Facebook, are they idiots? It goes out there and it's there forever.
Yeah, but your blog would be fascinating.
No,
Yeah,
no,
do a blog.
no. One's got an answering machine, that's as far as he goes.
Ready to go? Why don't you make a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll second it.